Fans, we are live once again on the Hannibal TV on YouTube with another edition of the Hannibal TV this week, the news program that you know and love, where we break down the news stories that are interesting to us at the time, and of course, bring a perspective that only the godfather of the Hannibal TV can do. That would be Hannibal himself. Hannibal, how are you this morning/afternoon?
I'm glad I'm not in Ontario because I understand Ottawa got snow last night. My parents sent me a picture of their front yard covered in snow, and it's about the equivalent of about 27 Celsius here in Kansas and sunny out. So I'm happy about that. Although I will be returning to Canada soon enough for an acting job that I'm looking forward to.
Well, hopefully by then this weather is past, but spring is certainly. I don't know what the apropos saying is, but it's certainly coming in like either a lamb or a lion. Yeah, we had a massive ice storm, as you know, about 2 weeks ago, and just followed up yesterday by even where I am in the Kingston area, massive snow. It was really downright depressing. You certainly made the right choice for training, which is something that I wanted to bring up in preparation for. We're under well under a month away now to TWA one and done May the 3rd in South Philadelphia, former ECW arena. And I've been talking to some folks that are seem to be skeptical about whether or not you're going to be able to come out on top of the insane luchador super crazy. And I've said, well, you obviously don't understand that Hannibal is a premier wrestler and athlete, and that high flying garbage, that's all fine and well, but once you catch him, that's it.
There you go. And again, I've been getting peptide therapies, stem cell therapies, NAD therapies, training twice a day. I'm going to be in great shape, and we still got a little over 3.5 weeks to go. May 3rd, 2300 Arena. It is TWA one and done. I know that there's 3 events at the ECW Arena that month, and I want to have the most memorable match of all those 3 events. That's my goal for the month of May at the ECW Arena, where apparently Tony Khan said recently at a press conference he wants to bring AEW there soon at some point, which I'm surprised he hasn't already.
Mm-hmm. Given his appreciation for the original ECW, it's kind of strange. But are you? I have to ask you this because
Plus, it's more fitting for the crowds that they get these days. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. Like the amount that the ECW arena can hold, I think just under 2,000 or something. That's about what they get on average.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And not to give away your training regimen, but are you thinking about? I know you've seen footage in the last year of Super Crazy diving off huge structures. The man really hasn't lost a step. I know in recent years you've been used to fighting bruisers, big guys, fellow monster types, but you did pin AJ Styles when he was the New Japan Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. I think people forget that.
Yeah,
But
back in what the hell? I just lost my camera.
Oh wow!
I'll blog in and log out. Hold on.
No problem. The point that I was going to make along with Hannibal's input is even though Super Crazy is still crazy, fans may have seen the episode with Joel Goodhart where he said the man is crazy, but I think they're forgetting that Hannibal is as a multifaceted professional wrestler, not brawling, high flying. Are you thinking about how you're going to counter that at all?
Well, just to go back to that, back in August of 2014, before about 1,000 fans in Hawkesbury, Ontario, as my camera goes out again, I did pin AJ Styles 2 times in one night, and that was his peak.
Yeah,
I don't think many people are going to argue that's his peak. So I mean, he was a higher quality athlete than Super Crazy. Not taking anything away from Super Crazy, but it's just not going to be a contest. So what do we have in the news as I fix my camera here?
Well, a number of stories coming out of this past week's television. I think we'll start a little out of order from what I had originally outlined, and that is the promo that everyone's talking about between Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. For those that didn't see it on SmackDown on Friday, the essentially what happened was Charlotte was seen to be flustered, although a heel, by getting a lot of boos from the crowd, and then what everyone is agreeing, went off the agreed upon content, and there were mentions of marriages being 0 for 3 on Charlotte's part, and Charlotte, I guess, initially is getting the most heat because she started making fun of Stratton's voice, and it generally was characterized as a mess backstage. Did you see that promo, Hannibal?
I did see it. I guess the USA version, the USA Network version, has the uncut version. And again, I would what they've done here is they've got people talking about something that no one had much interest in. So I would truly suspect, because nobody wants to get in trouble in WWE, I would truly suspect that it is an elaborate work to get attention, a successful work to get attention. That's my opinion of it. Was it good? I mean, yes. I mean, that was better than what we're used to seeing. I mean, there was an element of believability to it. I mean, that's way better than what we've been seeing of Cody. Has anything interesting happened with Cody Rhodes and Cena since he got beat, other than just boring talking? I mean, at least there was an element of believability to it, which I liked, but I would not put it past anyone during WrestleMania season, when there's not much interest in the card overall, other than the Cena versus Cody, and that match was falling pretty flat. They've now created an interest in that match. Did they put some shoot comments in there? Yes, but they can. I mean, there's a whole history in wrestling of shoot comments. The whole Attitude Era was based on comments like that back when Vince Russo was doing the promos. So again, I mean, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing I've ever saw, but I watched it. I was able to watch the whole segment without turning it off. But my view of it is, I don't think Tiffany Stratton at her age would go risk going off script that much and risk a punishment if that wasn't approved. Maybe very few people knew about it, but I mean, I've been involved in these things myself where there's agreements between a handful of people and no one else knows about it, like the people that leak information to Dave Meltzer, for instance. Like supposedly guys like Brooklyn Brawler were in the past, but obviously he has connections there, and they probably have an idea who those connections are. So if they want to keep something a secret, they'll kayfabe those people.
Yeah, Ric Flair had some comments about it, which you can take for what will be. But he said on Busted Open Radio, he has an opinion, but he doesn't really want to voice it. I can say this: it's sensitive. I didn't like it, but wrestling is wrestling. I hate when they use me, but Charlotte is right. You think that's the first time she's heard my name? And then he goes on to say that she's
Charlotte wouldn't have even had her opportunity without Ric Flair, because let's face the facts, she's really, like, let's be honest here, Divas is about looking like Diva. Yes, she's a good athlete and everything, but she had her push and everything because of Ric Flair. It's just like Cody Rhodes. Say what you want, he got his initial pushes, and part of his fame came when he finally embraced that he's Dusty Rhodes' son. Because for a while there, he's like, I don't want any connection to it. And that wasn't helping him at all. When they started really referencing Dusty Rhodes and stuff is when he got over. And same with Charlotte. She wears the robes and all this. She's had the 3+ marriages. She's going down the same road. But I really truly do not believe that this is a shoot. And just because Ric Flair chimes in on it, I mean, he's a worker too, so that means nothing to me.
exactly. He went on to say that unwritten rules of promos with rivals like Terry Funk, Dusty Rhodes, stating that family is always off limits. He noted in his own experience crossing a line in a promo never happened. And when he was asked about Charlotte's personal life being brought up in the promo without prior discussion, he said that he didn't know if there was a conversation beforehand, but assumed that there wasn't. So I think you're right on there.
Yeah, and all honest, yes, I do follow wrestling. I can't think of any other promo of Charlotte's that's had talk like this, other than there was the incident, which I think may have ended up being a work at one point when her and the Irish women wrestler, you'll remind me of her name right now,
Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch, they had the thing where one of them released the belt and threw it down. And this reminded me immediately of that it's a work shoot type situation to get people talking, and it was good. I'm not taking anything away from it. It got people talking, but I do not believe in the choreographed world of WWE. Charlotte could probably get away with it, but Stratton, who's younger, can't without getting punished, because they would punish people for going off script.
Yeah, can you think of a really truly shoot sort of situation in pro wrestling in the modern era? I think the only one that everybody agrees of the more famous ones that actually was legitimate was when Shane Douglas threw down the NWA title after beating Scorpio and made those comments with Carluzzo in the background, and that seemed to be a legitimate double cross. But can you think of any others? The Attitude Era you've touched
Well,
on.
you would have people in promos in WWE and WCW take shots at the other guys quite frequently, which is why I found those promos better and that era better. But yeah, that's my view of it. Would anything within a company? I guess the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels thing, which a lot of people believe is a work now, considering Bret's come back and had made millions. Bret's made more since his screw job with WWE than he has before, and so is Vince McMahon. It really did nothing bad to any of their careers in the long run. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, yes, this one's right. MSB Steiner owned Flair. That was a shoot. That was a shoot. I can tell you 100% that was a shoot. The
That was the
Steiner
one
promo on Flair, yeah.
is
And the
old.
Steiner promo on Kimberly Page.
Yes. The Steiner one on Flair was when he referred to him as old with crooked teeth and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that seems to be forgot that one. Don't see how I did, but yeah, Steiner was an absolute phenomenon. Moving on to the issue of WrestleMania ticket sales, they've been on track to being the second lowest pre-sale to date, just behind WrestleMania 7 and 91 with the Slaughter Hogan deal that was moved to the LA Sports Arena. They're saying now that they've passed a mark to unlock a second tier of tickets for night 2, but night 1 is lagging behind. A commentator named Billy Body explained that their strategy is more revenue focused than capacity driven, and indicated that they're openly admitting that they're overpricing tickets, constantly telling fans on every show that they're breaking records, which I think you pointed out many times, by charging higher prices rather than opening up more seats. And they're
shutting down other show and doing less shows so more people travel. So they do have a higher concentration, but it's kind of an illusion, to be honest. And just like with everyone watching it, you don't have to pay $60 to watch it. You just have to have either your Peacock subscription or Netflix subscription. So that's why I truly think if this was still about people have to put out their money to buy it on pay-per-view, they would make one super night. But this has been, I really don't think there's 2 nights worth of WrestleMania here. Maybe if The Rock was headlining one of the nights, or Brock Lesnar, but like this is like watered down. And I was at that arena. I was in Las Vegas last week, on a stem cell trip and also doing a movie, doing a scene for the Tommy Morrison documentary where I met one of his co-stars from the Rocky Five movie.
Yeah.
Who that was really cool. Uh, that's a huge arena, and it says right outside the arena Wi-Fi ability for 65,000 people. So it could hold 65,000 plus. So it's going to be about half full. But again, they're charging more than you used to have to pay for one night of a pack card, which you now have to pay twice for watered down wrestling. So I don't know. I wouldn't want to watch it. I'll be happy just watching the highlights.
Well, I'll do the work so you don't have to on that one. But yeah, it was definitely a marathon endeavor of a weekend last year, and this year is probably going to be uh, more
I
so.
did try to watch 2 years ago. For the record, I tried to do a watch along. I lasted the first night, and I had zero interest in watching the second night. I found it so tedious the first night that I just couldn't take 2 nights of it.
Yeah, this seems to be the model that TKO operates on. I know in speaking to our friend and broadcast partner Morris Shorthall of the Cheap Heat Productions network that the recently announced tour of Europe for some house shows are prohibitively expensive as well. So you've got to wonder if this is going to come back and haunt them in the end, because there seems to be a finite market of folks that can pay $1,200 a ticket for a house show, to say the least.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, they're getting deals to do those house shows. They're also getting money from the town, so it's like they want to double dip. It's like we're going to take this money from the town, then charge ridiculous amounts, so we make absolute fortunes. And they can't even run house shows here because they're not making enough profit to make it worthwhile. And by the way, is there even, if you look at both AEW and WWE right now, neither of them have any upcoming shows in Canada.
Mhm.
So it's like it seems like wrestling's dead in Canada right now. This is the first time I can remember in the history of my wrestling fandom that no major company has any upcoming shows in Canada. I assume AEW is at least going to do the Owen Hart tournament in Calgary, but they haven't announced it yet. They haven't been to Canada since the Owen Hart tournament last year. Nothing announced, and nothing since the Elimination Chamber in Toronto and Survivor Series in Vancouver, where Toronto at one point was a monthly stop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting revenue model for sure. Speaking of guys that would boost WrestleMania ticket sales, I don't know if you caught this, Hannibal. You probably did, but a fan got a comment out of Brock Lesnar this week, and he asked him if he was when is he returning to WWE, and he indicated that he is retired from pro wrestling. What do you make of that?
Was that on Twitter or something?
It was on Twitter, Facebook. All the news outlets had it for a day or so.
I imagine that I understand he's still under contract.
Oh, we lost Hannibal there. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. But oh, he's back in under a second.
The powers that be getting to me. From what I understand, he's still under that 12 million a year contract. Because if he's not, I mean, Brock, his loyalty is to Vince. So I could see if he was, and I don't know if AEW would be smart enough to do this, but if I was Tony Khan, and if for some reason he was not under contract, I would throw. He wasted far more money on much stupider things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Get Brock Lesnar because that's one guy that could help.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
still has the mystique. He can still go. I don't think Brock Lesnar is retired. He's just he doesn't want to be in the spotlight, and it's easier for him to just say he's retired. That's my opinion of that. I do not think The Rock said he was retired, for crying out loud, before his. Remember, like 3 or 4 years ago, he said on a talk show he's retired. Which, by the way, the headline of Triple H on Jimmy Kimmel last night was he did not know he was going in the Hall of Fame. Really? The guy that's in charge of the Hall of Fame selections. And again, why does that even matter? But it just shows that they can kayfabe people. People that don't think that they can be kayfabe in 2025, look at the Charlotte Flair promo and look at Triple H telling people he did not know, as the head of who gets selected for the Hall of Fame, he did not know that he was going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd be very surprised if that was the end of Lesnar in a ring, one way or another. Maybe if McMahon starts his own company, as these rumors seem to persist, he'd be signee number one. One other directly related note to WrestleMania: you may have caught that they were planning a match between Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen, and Randy Orton, but Kevin Owens, announced that he has been dealing with a serious neck injury for about 4 months, which probably was that match with Cody in the Royal Rumble where he took a couple of pretty significant bumps, one being on a ladder, and that he's out and he's probably going to be gone for 2 to 5 years. Does that sound? I guess with major neck surgery, you're talking a while. Do you see him coming back, or he's got to be 40 plus now? He's got millions.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not a fan of his. He's got a lot of money. And I'm sure they're going to make sure he gets the best treatment possible, and he's got kids he can spend time with. I mean, I feel bad for the Marty Jannettis of the world who need further surgeries and can't afford them. I don't worry about multi-millionaires that I'm sure will be back. Yeah, one of the most overrated wrestler, but great politician.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing politician. I will give him that. But the master of leg slapping, and just not someone I care to watch.
Yeah, I don't think, honestly. I know he's got his fans out there, but I don't think he's going to leave that big of a hole.
No, he's not a need. Honestly, if you actually look at some of the lowest rated of all time, he's usually one of the feature stars. So I mean, he's an upper card, a guy that does jobs on the upper card, an upper card job. Again, he had that series with Cody Rhodes where no one expected him to win, and he didn't win. So it just made, to me, this whole title reign lackluster. By the way, a lot of people are saying Jacob Fatu's undefeated. He did lose to Cody Rhodes in a dark match that you guys can look up on the internet, of a TV taping shortly after he debuted, which I found weird for them to do in this day of videotaping. But I see a lot of people counting down his undefeated streak and comparing him to Goldberg and Tatanka. I mean, Goldberg also had an early loss, but it wasn't during his push or anything. But just for the record, Fatu did lose to, and I'm a big Fatu fan, but he did lose to Cody Rhodes in a dark match on Raw earlier in his run.
Now, in terms of the Hall of Fame, there's speculation. It seems to be one of the more talked about deals this year for the Hall of Fame, and that's Sting possibly inducting Lex Luger. But Tony Khan has been pretty coy about it. He said that he's not sure when he was asked directly, and there doesn't appear, at least at the time Meltzer discussed this in The Observer, there didn't seem to be any form of communication with Khan and WWE about Sting doing the honors. I think he's the logical choice, and precedent has been set in the past with those under contract doing Hall of Fame inductions. I think about Christian years back inducting, I think it was Sting, in the TNA Hall of Fame. Of course, totally different apples and oranges here. But do you think Khan going to pull the trigger on this, so to speak, or are those bad feelings still lingering?
Apparently, the trade was for Christian and Billy Gunn, and apparently WWE threw some shots in at Billy Gunn at the time, even though the favor was done and Christian put on a lackluster performance in TNA. Tony Khan is paying a lot of money to Sting, a lot of money to have Sting under contract. I don't know why he would do that. I honestly don't. With the feud that they have going, I personally wouldn't do it. And honestly, I really don't care. I don't particularly like Lex Luger. I do believe he played a role. My opinion is he played in a role in Elizabeth's death by having the drugs that she OD'd on in his house and not attempting CPR. You can listen to the 911 call. He did not even attempt. He was in a panic. So he basically contributed to her death, in my opinion, by having all those drugs in his house, which he actually went to jail for after. There had been some assault accusations previously that he had been arrested for that never went anywhere after the death. But to me, yes.
Oh, we had a brief outage here. I'm sure Hannibal will be back in a matter of seconds. Yeah, Luger is a divisive character, to say the least.
Yeah, they keep cutting me off, but to me, I think that just because he's handicapped now, similar to Abdullah the Butcher, because people become handicapped. Oh, let's forget all of their past sins. Let's forget this guy knowingly went around spreading hepatitis and then fraudulently transferred properties to avoid paying judgments that were found against him in two different countries. Let's just forget about this sick fuck, all the fucked up stuff he's done because he's in a wheelchair now. Honestly, like, to me, I don't feel bad for people. I believe in karma.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you before the next story, just as an aside. You probably haven't, but they aired the Dark Side of the Ring episode on Vader last night. Have you had a chance to check that out yet? I
I
haven't
haven't
yet.
seen any of them, but I do know they used some of my footage for the Vader episode. I'm disappointed. They did use they used 3 or 4 pieces of my footage, which they paid me for, and I do appreciate it. I think I could have contributed to the Vader, Billy Jack, and Billy Graham 100%. But no, I haven't watched. To me, I mean, I didn't even have interest in the Hell in the Cell one. I've heard about that one to death. He did 2 stunts in a match. I mean, I've heard about this for 25 years. I'm sick of hearing about it. And I haven't seen any of the others, and I don't know if I will watch any this year. It's kind of run its course for me.
Yeah, the Ludwig Borga one was the second of this season. It was actually interesting. There was a lot about Tony Halme that I was not aware of, but they did show, I think, almost the match in its entirety. His UFC outing where he lost in short order.
Rick Bassman is the one that set that match up, and if you guys search Rick Bassman on Ludwig Borga, he tells that story in detail on my channel of how he set that up. And the funny thing is, in those days, Bassman actually think Borga was going to win. He thought Borga was going to beat Couture. And in the end, that was the beginning of realization that the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Just like, I think, speaking of Kevin Owens, someone wrote a message. Kevin Owens' son is 6'6" Hannibal. You better watch what you're saying. Well, I'm 6'4" and 280 pounds, and a former national champion in amateur wrestling. And honestly, I can tell you guys from bouncing, the most dangerous guys are the George St. Pierre size guys that have good cardio, good movements. It's not the big lugs. I'll fight Big Show any day over George St. Pierre. That's my experience in fighting. Yeah, there's going to be some exceptions to the rule, but first of all, I'll take a bigger guy any day because there's no shame in losing to the bigger guy either. You'll get credit for putting up a good fight. It's these GSP guys that have good cardio, good movement, good takedown, defense, and attacks that you got to worry about. It's not the big bulky Ludwig Borga guys that may have some boxing experience, but don't have much takedown defense, as Borga found out.
Mhm. Next story is an interesting one in terms of Vince McMahon again and WWE filing a motion to dismiss the well talked about Ring Boy lawsuit. They filed motions in the U.S. District Court in Maryland to dismiss this lawsuit. The filings came after Linda McMahon did a similar motion, although these were separate ones. WWE and Vince are arguing that the case should be dismissed due to lack of jurisdiction in Maryland, where the Child Victims Act of 2023 removed any statute of limitations on civil lawsuits related to sexual abuse or negligence leading to child abuse. They're arguing that the plaintiffs in the case don't have meaningful ties to Maryland and the claims do not belong there. And we're talking about the whole Mel Phillips, I guess Patterson was named in that, Terry Garvin, that whole sordid affair. Vince is, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I posted a whole thing on here last night, which was a repost of something that David Bixenspan did years ago on a story related to that. And I guess the big thing of that is Linda McMahon says she had no idea any of this went on until now. This is something everybody knew about at the time. It was on Geraldo, Donahue. I mean, this was big news at the time. There's some more and less credible claims in it, but there was definitely weird stuff that went on. Patterson retired for a number of years and never came back as vice president of talent relations. He was, prior to this, vice president of talent relations. Terry Garvin never came back. Mel Phillips got fat severance pay. Came back one time, then was gone again. Lots of weird stuff that happened. I mean, they have a long history of running events in Maryland. This is one of the things that they'll do is they'll claim, and this usually happens before a settlement, they'll claim that there's no jurisdiction in the states because they're based in Connecticut. There's a lot of legal loopholes that they'll use, and I highly suspect this will be settled. I highly suspect this is not skeletons that they'll want open, because there is some merit to it. And even though the three people I think are dead now, Phillips, Patterson, and Garvin, the reason this has been opened back up is because of a law related to, I believe, child sex crimes or something. They're allowing cases past 25 years to be reopened, and WWE, I think, already tried to fight this once. Didn't they? Wasn't there some type of fight against whether this could happen, go forward or not? And now it has been going forward, and now they're saying, well, we don't do any business in Maryland. Well, when you run Baltimore, what's that under when WWE comes to Baltimore? I don't know. And to me, I've heard Brian Alvarez say this, and I'll agree with him on this. For Linda to say she had absolutely no knowledge of any of the, at least say you had some knowledge and you looked into it and nothing happened. There was a settlement. This Lee Cole guy is off his rocker. From, like, I've interviewed him. He spews a lot of bullshit.
Yep. For sure.
Very uncredible person. But at one point there was a settlement with Tom Cole. It was settled. And in the end, Tom Cole's credibility was a little weird because he settled, came back to work, and he was off and on. And I mean, I don't think he's involved in the five names. It's all, the five are unnamed, but there was some type of settlement with at least Tom Cole, who I don't even know if Tom Cole is alive or not.
No, he passed.
But yeah, and from what I understand, the five people, because they were children at the time are not being named. So this is not. I know Lee Cole is all about getting attention, loves the spotlight, claims he's friends with Linda McMahon and stuff, which is just weird stuff. I wouldn't find that person credible at all. But based on the fact that these 5 people are remaining anonymous and don't seem to be out for the publicity, and everybody knew about the whole toe thing. This was common knowledge backstage for people we've talked to, but I guess people didn't do anything about it because they wanted to keep their jobs. But there's lots of wrestlers that knew about it, and that's just one of the sad things about the wrestling business. The Ring Boys and Mel Phillips and the foot fetish. He. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to think I would have taken my integrity above a job in that situation, but who knows? Because one weird thing is Bruno Sammartino, and I talked about this with David Bixenspan. He said he was aware of Ring Boy stuff going on, and he overall, other than going back to WWE when he said he never would, Bruno was always credible, not lying, and he said he knew about this stuff. So you got to take that into some account. Billy Graham flip-flopped on it a bit, but it all depended if he was getting paid by WWE or not.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Graham needed money at some point. He was under several Legends contracts. I know the last time I interviewed Billy about it, he said he did not want to talk about it one way or another, either Patterson or the Ring Boy. So I know they made him, in his book that they published, they made him say something saying he was not telling the truth about Patterson. But again, they put out the book. He needed money at the time. He got money from the book. So I don't know. To me, there's more on Patterson out there. There's definitely more than a book worth of stories on Patterson to me.
Yeah, I
And
think
Terry Garvin's a weirdo, and Mel Phillips a weirdo. Those 3. I mean, I would. There's more. There's more. Sorry to cut you off, but there's something there.
No, I think you're making a good point that a lot of people seem to even outside the industry seem to kind of shuffle off because Patterson was a well liked figure by everyone. It seemed. I mean, you get the odd shoot interview where somebody indicates that they didn't like Pat or whatever, but overwhelmingly he is an individual that is liked and respected. And you look when he died, all the tributes that came in, and it seems like he, in addition to coming back and working for many, many years after, functionally got somewhat of a pass in the whole situation. And because Mel Phillips and Terry Garvin were, well, they weren't popular, especially Phillips, but Garvin too. They seem to, whenever the Ring Boy scandal comes up, you automatically go to Phillips and Garvin. Well, Patterson is
he was the head of talent relations. He was the head of talent relations. So whether he was directly involved in that or not, as head of talent relations, would you not be in charge of dealing with stuff related to talent? I don't know, but yeah, the interesting thing, and this is pure hearsay, but Don Morocco told me that he always heard there was something with Vince, Pat, and Pat's boyfriend. There was some type of relationship with those 3, and this is hearsay. I'll make that clear, but this is from Don Morocco. And if you look at the text messages from Vince McMahon related to Janelle Grant, there's a lot of homosexual fetish stuff in there. And basically he wanted all these other guys to bang his girl in these text messages, which is kind of a homosexual fetish. And it kind of goes with the whole thing. If there was and this is hearsay, if there was something going on with Vince and Pat, maybe that's why Pat did get the pass. And also he was always known as one of the best finish guys in the world. So they kept him on as an advisor right up until his death. But there's a lot of weird stuff that went on in those days. And again, if you look at those Vince McMahon text messages, I tend to lean towards the side, even with the Nails stuff. Like, you know how Berserker says that Nails said that he grabbed him. I don't know. With all that's come out now, Nails was a blonde guy, muscular. I really don't know. I wouldn't even. I hope to interview Nails one day,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
but I
that's a
wouldn't just throw that all out as fall. Again, did Nails ever get charged with anything on that? I mean, he did get away.
well, the stuff about Vince and homosexual relations has been around for a long time. You must remember the rumors about him and Shawn Michaels, and then Warrior on a bearskin rug, all that stuff. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
would
I
say,
don't know about Warrior, but I could tell when I saw Michaels at the Cauliflower Alley Club when he got an award, which I think the Click got an. Maybe it was Sean or the Click, but all the Click were there. But him and Pat, there's a connection there. Definitely a very close and deep friendship, if nothing else, because the whole time he's on stage, Pat's and I know Pat had a few drinks, but he's like yelling stuff. You can tell that there's a bond between those two. Um, Very close friendship, if nothing else. There's always going to be rumors, but those two had a bond, and from what we've heard about the people that Pat allegedly like, the Sylvain Greniers, the Jim Powers, um, these type of people. Who was the guy you interviewed? Al Perez, the pretty boy
mhm,
looking types.
mhm, mhm. Well, it's certainly a dark chapter in the history of that company, and not to say that malfeasance doesn't go on today, but let's hope there's better checks and balances in these major companies that are publicly traded, and hopefully not so insular as to have this kind of stuff happen, because
Yeah, I
not
don't
good.
this kind of stuff. I mean, there's favoritism and there's politics, but it was still operated a lot like a territory. I mean, even David Bixenspan even said, he's an expert in this. Even told me that like when they went national, they could have afforded a real ring crew, but they still went with like the old ring boy and local ring crew systems, even though they were a massive company for a while. So there was a lot of like old carny stuff still happening, probably up until at least the mid '90s.
Our last story of this week. I know you're getting ready to do one of your daily workouts, Hannibal. This is a favorite guy of yours. I know on Drew McIntyre, or Drew McDonald, as you call him. He said that some of the new wrestlers are freaking pussies, and he said he made comments on a recent podcast about younger wrestlers being soft. He said, unless I was dead, I would continue a match. He's talking about if there's an injury. We've seen examples like Triple H. He tore his quad off the bone, but continued the match. He was even put in the Walls of Jericho, a maneuver that puts pressure on the quads. And even though his wasn't attached, that's the kind of mentality most of our superstars have, or maybe just some of them, because some of them, some of the new guys are freaking pussies. That's kind of a controversial statement to make, don't you think, Hannibal?
Well, it's only going to get more and more that way because this is the hiring practice now. They're not and again, you just got to accept it. And unless a new company comes out that's different, and I don't have faith in that at all, it's just going to be the way it is. I know there's not going to be any pussies on the tri-state wrestling because it's old school and gritty, and it's in Philadelphia. But like when you're paid to train and you haven't even necessarily loved wrestling all your life and wanted to be a wrestler all your life, and you've paid no dues to get a contract, you're just not going to have the same mentality of people like me that literally, let's look at I was a national champion amateur wrestler, went to Stampede Wrestling, went to Puerto Rico, went to England, had my own company for like 15 years, which sometimes I didn't even make money on the shows. Overall, I did. paying all these dues when you finally make it. If you get injured in a match, are you going to quit? Or after paying all these dues for all these years, are you going to do everything you can to finish the match because you know how important this opportunity is and how important this spot is? Just if it's all handed to you, you're not going to look at it the same way. And as the independents continue to dry up and people get large contracts right away and don't have to pay any dues, it's just that's what's going to happen. It's just the evolution of the business.
Yeah, it's interesting you say evolution because that's one of the arguments that Dave Meltzer makes all the time when speaking of the difference between today's product and yesterday's product. Those of us that have an appreciation for, the territory days and the kind of characters that you would find in the territories often lament the fact that, they're these not all, but a lot of the new generation, they just don't have that edge to them or the ability to do their own thing that made the product interesting. I know athletes in terms of their accomplishments and abilities they're greater athletes per se than back in the territory days, but I don't see that as a net positive.
They're
for
great. They're
overall.
greater gymnasts. I'm sick of everyone saying they're greater athletes. They're more acrobatic. Just because you're a gymnast doesn't mean you're a good amateur wrestler. Like, stop telling me because you can do a bunch of flips, it makes you a good wrestler. To me, wrestling is not about flips. It's good to have that in one match, but honestly, when I watch a Will Ospreay match, yes, he does the flips great and the leg slapping great. And I'm not picking on people. There's a percentage of people that like that, but there's a reason why. Didn't AEW get like a 0.16 rating for Dynamite last week when it started at the 0.6? People, after a while, you've seen enough of the acrobatics. You got to have some belief. Again, what is everyone talking about this week? There's actually two things. One we missed. Swerve Strickland talking about Booker T. That's a believable. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I omitted it for reasons.
Yeah. Okay. There's two things people are talking about this week. Swerve Strickland shooting on Booker T and the Tiffany Stratton stuff. People care more about the believability stuff than any stupid flips. And at this point, we've seen so much. It's just bland to me. And yeah, we don't have to talk about it because I don't really necessarily like either of those two. I'll take Booker T's side in it, but people want the believability back. And let's hope that the one and done isn't a one and done and something comes out of the ashes of that, because I do think there is an opening for something else. But even me, I don't get mad anymore. I mean, because just the business has changed and I don't think it's ever going back, but it would be nice if there could be. I hope that the Tri-State May 3rd one and done goes well, because it seems like the people that are supporting that are old school, and it's in the ECW arena. It's all hardcore guys that want the more kayfabe stuff and the more shoot style angles back. So I hope something comes out of the ashes there, whether that's the last Tri-State and something comes out of the ashes of that or not. But at least there'll be one night of it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny you mention that, because one of the matches that's on the card, the main event of the card this morning, I shared a promo from one former TWA heavyweight champion, a guy by the name of Heart Killer Chris Wilde. He's taken on a fellow by the name of Breaker Morant in the main event. He's also a former TWA, the last two actually TWA heavyweight champions. These guys are very impressive, can still go, and I think that match is going to be a barn burner, and I think it could spell a new direction moving forward. I know Breaker Morant, this is his last match, but fans of the Hannibal TV, if you haven't, check out Heart Killer Chris Wilde, the promo that was shared this morning, because it's very exciting. And the card is going to be very exciting. The WrestleCon that starts at noon is just loaded with legends from top to bottom, headlined by the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. We got a little graphic on that sucker there, including Tully Blanchard, Todd Gordon, Sam. Too many to name, actually. And then, of course, the big card coming up in the evening featuring the lowering of the banner, over 1,000 signatures to get some TWA legends their due, will be coming down from the arena, the roof of the arena. And the match that a lot of people are talking about, Hannibal the Death Dealer versus Super Crazy. I think that we are going to absolutely.
And is Tessa Blanchard not wrestling too on this?
Yes. I was going to mention Tully is now signed to be at the Fan Fest and appear in the corner of Tessa Blanchard when she takes on Baby Doll's daughter, Samantha Starr, and Baby Doll will be in that corner.
And not only is that Baby Doll's daughter, but let's give a plug here. I did 2 interviews with Sam Houston this week. It's also his daughter. So that's cool. I didn't know that she was wrestling Tessa Blanchard because he was telling me she's one half of the NWA Tag Team Champions. So I'm looking forward to that. And I have been in the ECW arena before, but I never wrestled there. So I'm looking forward to that. Fans, we're going to try and do these more often, these news things, because I'll be honest, I'm bored with wrestling these days. I don't even want to look at the updates because it's so boring. Like this WrestleMania to me is blah, and I'm sick of reading the results every week. Oh, John Cena and Cody Rhodes, 10 to 15 minute promo. They just stood there and talked. I don't even want to read about it anymore. It's boring to me just to read about. So at least talking to Jack can kind of make it a little bit more entertaining. But I know Jack and I are both working on some upcoming interviews, so we're going to get those to you in the coming weeks. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, and I have more custom matches coming to this channel soon as well.
That's it for this edition of the Hannibal TV this week. Hit that notification button to not miss any upcoming content on the channel. And please like this video if you enjoyed it. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews,